Good evening. We have another beautiful video for you. I want you to watch this one. How will Africa and America unite 2022-2043? I've been having some questions. People ask me many times about how about peoples in other places? How about peoples on the islands and etc. There's scriptures that is in there that deal with more than just black folks in America, but the main part of the Bible is catering to America and thus beyond. And that's how it really is. So you may have, in a certain level of the sod, I'm going to say it like this, in a certain level of the sod, it teaches a deeper level of some of the things that God's saying that is all inclusive. A lot of times for the first 5.5 years, I imagine for that enough of time, little 5.5 years, I've been teaching strictly the King James Bible as the Eurocentric sonnet here, how it was sung here, and what it really means in the arts and the codes, etc. There's some areas of the Bible where it say that the glory of God will be all over the earth or the world. That means that once it covers America, that knowledge given in America, then it's going to spread all over the globe. But we got to get it right here. And most people don't understand that. And they'll say, well, we got lights and spiritual leaders in other parts of the world. Truly, you got lights and spiritual leaders in other parts of the world. But God always launches campaign from the most powerful nation in the world. That's what he have always did. And America is that most powerful nation in the world at this present time. And God is launching his campaign from America. And many scriptures tell you about America, telling you that that light will come out of the north and out of the west. That light, as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So it tells you in the scripture that this is going to emerge in the west, in the most powerful nation in the world. And that is America right now. Because America was the ground to a group of people was known as Hebrew Aborigines. We call them the American Indians. And they was in the northwest, I would say the southwest part of Turtle Island. And we have to see that. They was a nation until 1830, until Andrew Jackson had them to leave their land. And some who wanted to stay there, they couldn't be known as Indians. They had them being known right with the regular Negroes, okay? So you got to see that. And people talk about going out to Wall Street in certain areas and stuff like that. They got to kind of tie that in with the migration and things that happened at that time. So they'll know who was these people. Were they just Negroes, Africans that had once lived or came over in slavery? Or was they Aboriginals who were / blacks who already knew how to build that nation, out that kingdom that was necessary? They wasn't someone that was submissive to the master. They were someone that believed they could find a territory and they could build cities and towns like they once had. And that's our ancestors, and we have to see that. When William Penn and some of the other boys came over, other explorers, when they seen them and they seen cities with houses, nice houses, just like you have in Europe. They seen cities with town squares and all that stuff, businesses and etc. So you weren't coming to a location when you came over to the north, to the south, east part of America, and you seen teepees. Teepees was part of the Trail of Tears thing. But Hollywood make you think Indians all their life, that's all they lived in, teepees. So you got to get out of television and start seeing this truth in it. Now, what are we talking about? How will Africa and America unite? 2022 to 2043. A very particular time in human history. And we're going to even narrow that time down more as we talk about the zeitgeist. Now, Africans are Africans, okay? Africans, and we shouldn't say Africans because it's a Eurocentric name. Blacks in the African nation, that landmass, have been lived not only there, but they have lived on every continent of this world. They have lived there. You have black people in Australia. Black people lived in Europe. Black people dominated Europe. Black people ran Europe at one time. They talk about the Greeks and they talk about Alexander the Great and stuff, but you had black Greeks there. And a lot of them people don't understand, how the Grecians get this and they got it from the Egyptian Africans and the Africans. They got their scholarship from the Africans. You know, you got peoples that teach you that, Egypt and their dynasty was built 3,500 years before Christ and all that. All them lies, them theories. That's no truth in that. Anybody, I don't care what professor get up and tell you this, that time, and that time is a theory. And when you begin to see the scholarly part of it, and you begin to see the mythology work with it, and you understand the arts of the procession of the equinox, then you know all them things that they tell you about that crap and timing is lies. Okay? You find out that they are lies. So I don't care how much you paid or your grandfather or somebody paid to go to this prestigious college and all that and learn this, and they are different, peoples in scholarship. That don't mean nothing. You got people studying the cranium, German scholars and all that, and they wind that stuff up in the 1910s and early latter 1800s and try to show that that blacks was inferior to whites because of the bone structure of the cranium and all this other nonsense. See, they'll lie to you so much to get you dumbed down to make you think right now. Black folks think that they are a minority. It's impossible. It's an impossibility for you to be the minority when you're the majority peoples on the planet. How could you ever, when you talking about people, how could you ever tell them that they are the minority when they are the majority? All that stuff is to dumb you down. All that stuff is to make you feel inferior to another group of people. And we have to get out of that. So how will African Americans and how will Black Americans, Native American, etc. in this nation unite themselves with Africa, the European, many other islands, not just Africa, many other islands, but we just focus on Africa because it's so big. You could take you look at geographic, you could take the United States, North America, and you can put it inside the continent of Africa approximately 3, close to 4 times, at least 3+. Because I looked at a book one time and I said, darn, I didn't know Africa was that big. See, when they put it on the globe, you think everything, is about the same size, but no. They did that for special reasons, and one day, if you have time, study about it, and they'll show the reason the Europeans did that, made about everything close to the same size on the globe. All propaganda. But black folks don't study, don't read enough to know that. And then sometime when a brother come and tell you that, you want to, I seen the globe. People, go do your homework, okay? Because I love you, and you're going to have to do your own homework to be delivered. You can't be delivered by not reading and studying and understanding. You need that. Let's deal with this now. Unity mean, unite mean unity in French. So a French word that you trace back, and it shows that unity means unity and unite is all the same thing. That's a common sense thing. Most people know that anyway. Return to America, to return to ancient Egypt's God of the true Holy Bible, the book, thought. To return to the ancient Egyptian God of the true Holy Bible, thought. Okay? Now, most people don't know thought, and they never heard of thought. They grew up in a culture where Jesus, Yahshua, Yahweh, Jah, and all these different names for God been told to them. Okay? They never used Melchizedek as a God. They know Melchizedek was the Most High priest, a priest of the Most High God. And it was the Melchizedek priesthood, but they didn't carry that one too far, and that's what the main character They said that Jesus, as the story goes, they said that Jesus took his priesthood after Melchizedek. If you the Almighty God, you God himself, why would you take your priesthood after a lesser priest? It didn't make much sense. But at the time when people see that and they told that, they don't think nothing of it. See, thought, Melchizedek is thought. And if you study a lot of the Jewish literature and some of the others, they'll bring that out. Melchizedek is thought. When you measure Melchizedek with the Egyptian literature, the Egyptian mythology and stuff, you know that that's thought. Thought and Melchizedek, the same person. And we need to know that. So because America have not tied itself with the true God of this Bible, and he's in this Bible, my people. He's in this Bible. You haven't tied yourself, African American, and Africans of Africa, you have not tied yourself to the true God. And you want to be delivered, and you cannot be delivered. Yeah, you got countries in Africa. You had Mali and etc. at the time, and the Songhai Empire. And they had a vast empire, many, many people there. And they knew how to pull themselves together and be that type of people they need to be. But right now, you in a Eurocentric propaganda, and they done put that ideology of you having a savior named Jesus Christ that is a Eurocentric face, a Eurocentric figure, and they done told you that you are sinful and you will go to hell if you don't do the things that they say you need to do for God. Then they got you locked down and strapped, and you can't be delivered. Even if you was in a country like Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Bahamas, some Ghana, or some Guinea, or some African nations, Nigeria, all these different African nations. The Eurocentric man still have you in such of a lockdown that you depend on him for your prosperity. You depend on him to help you shape your laws and etc. And it ain't always been like that. Not many, many years ago, that didn't exist. When you had the Mali Empire, they didn't need nobody like that. They didn't need that nonsense because they understood the thing. They was royals, and they knew how to use education. When you see the Songhai Empire, the Mali Empire, you always hear about the educational system. The educational system, how they put a lot of emphasis on education, how they put a lot of emphasis on trade, how they put a lot in commerce, a lot of emphasis on the ability to develop and move forward their nation. That is what is known as the doctrine of conclusion. When you talk about your own land, dominate your own land, and the manifesto. And when you look at that, you begin to understand that how can we not know the things that we need to know to get to this next level? We supposed to be some of the smartest people in the world, because in the manifest destiny, which have the 5 divine laws of God, you was never taught that. And when you was trying to keep up with the Eurocentric in his way, and he used his warfare to help hold you down, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. And he kept you and other blacks all over the world in this condition, and he dominated you. You came from being the majority in rule to a minority power, second to his. And you got to come out of that, and you got to learn these truths. All this stuff is in the Bible, my people. I'm not telling you nothing. I ain't deviating nowhere from the Bible. You got to see this. Okay, let's deal with Isaiah. Isaiah 4:28. Isaiah 4:41. I think it's 41. I think it's 4. Isaiah 41:28. Let me just put that so you can see that. 41:28. Because I know I'm not in Isaiah 4. You go down. Okay. Isaiah 41:28. For I beheld, and there was no man, even among them, and there was no counselor, thought, when I asked for them, could answer a word. Now, what is he saying? He is saying that we have gotten caught up in the idolary worshiping of idols and all this other stuff, the Eurocentric way of looking at it. And don't get me wrong, this is not to beat on the Eurocentric. It's just that they know the truth and they took it. They got that knowledge from the Egyptians, and the Greeks dominate that knowledge once they got it from the Egyptians. And they went to the Egyptian school, mystery school, etc. And they carried that knowledge on to Europe and etc. And now don't get me wrong, they were building themselves, but you had African nations already built. So it wasn't that you didn't have a light in the areas of Africa, a light in the area of Asia, a light in the area of the other countries, a light in the area of America that wasn't sparking at that same time. So you had in different places in the world lights coming into mankind, helping them build certain things, build the Mali Empire, build the Sinai Empire, and many other empires in China and etc. You had that in South America and Central America and North America. You had that. So don't think that the European time, from Alexander the Great time, he ruled all the way through to now. Nah, that was not how it happened, people. He ruled his territory for periods of time, and then as the Moors came in, they ruled certain periods of Europe at certain periods of time. And you got to remember, the European was ruled by black folks in Europe way before time. And people don't talk about that. They think that Eurocentric always ruled that area of the world, etc. No, it was not like that. Some of them still was coming out of the Caucasus Mountain and other areas of that. So they was not those individuals that society just assumed that they were. No. But you had many scholars like Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, and all them boys in the time. Egypt was at its height, part of its height, and you had even Alexander. One thing Alexander said when he visited Egypt, which is Africa, and when he visited Egypt, and Europe is still part of the continent of Africa, and people don't want to say that. But I don't want to get into that. That's a long story. But Alexander the Great said that these peoples in Egypt walking around like they gods. Why? Because their writings and their way of thinking had not far distant came from the telepathic realm of Noah time. So that energy, that knowledge, and that way of thinking came on even up to close to Napoleon. Not Napoleon, Alexander the Great time. And you have to see this. A lot of people don't get into that kind of story and knowledge and knowing all of that. They don't trace all this stuff back, and they need to. I like to just tell you about the Bible verses and all that, but I can't do that. I got to tell you to search for these truthisms, because the way that we've been taught in a Eurocentric classroom and etc. in America, it have taught you a Eurocentric story of their wannabe reality, and that's not how it was. You got to study world history, not just Eurocentric American history, my people. You got to get into the books if you want to know these higher truthisms. Okay, now, let's deal with this here. Okay, now Isaiah 41:24. Behold, ye are nothing, and your works are not, and abomination is he. Then say, God chose you. Now, he's saying that your works is nothing. Your work is not where it need to be at. We ain't up to par, okay? If we was up to par, we wouldn't be in the condition we're in right now. So our work is how to say it. And we have to understand that the 5 divine laws that God have put in Genesis, I think it's 128, in the book of Genesis 128, from the voice of God. That is hearing the voice of God. You are not exempt from those 5 divine laws. From the cradle to the grave, you have to be able to walk and understand the significance of those 5 divine laws. The Eurocentric man have learned, and when I say Eurocentric man, I don't mean all European people. Oh, no. The aristocrats in the very high level, the ones who actually running the country, they know this. And they the ones that bring the sacred art on your dollar bill and other things, and your symbol of your country and all this other stuff. They make those symbols and stuff to fit a certain energy vibration, and you have to begin to understand that everything dealing with vibration and rhythm in this. along with that sacred knowledge. You have to be able to understand that. And that's something that we got to gradually get into, vibration and rhythm. Because it could throw you off from your usual way of understanding the Bible if you just go straight at that. And so I can't do that to the audience. So we're going to have to gradually work into that one. Now, when we begin to look at this, and they say, an abomination is he, then say, thought chose you. I have raised up one from the north, and he shall come. From the rising of the sun shall he call upon my name. Now, how do you get out of this condition that God has seen us in? How do you get out of this condition? God send you a messenger. He send you a light. Do it be the kind of light you prefer? No, it don't be like that. It be the one that he have chose before the foundation of the world. And you have to understand that. So when you choose somebody, like for instance, they choose Martin Luther King, and we just had Martin Luther King Day. Yes, he's a light, but not that kind of light. Okay, that's a greater light. Okay, did he do greater things? In the beginning, you got to see Martin Luther King's life. A lot of blacks was not pleased with Martin Luther King. A lot, especially in this certain town here. You had many ministers come against Martin Luther King. He couldn't even come in Jacksonville, Florida, and protest. They wasn't with him. They have not, they said, oh, we can handle our town ourselves. And he had to go to St. Augustine and stuff like that. So when people think that everybody was okay with Martin Luther King and black power, this and all that, no. You had a lot of them preachers, they hated Martin Luther King. He was taking the spotlight on him, but he was trying to make some things happen. Did he do things the right way? I'll say at the time, he did things according to the way that God led him and the United States government. He had to do things on both sides. You'll see at different times, Martin Luther King was in the White House talking to the Kennedy boys at different times. And we have to understand that. So we can't be oblivious to this stuff. We got to know that, yes, he was doing certain things, he was getting certain things done, but the government was intervening with it because the government had Martin Luther King, the government didn't have him say that, but at the end of the day, Martin Luther King said, it's as though I led my peoples into a burning building. He regretted some of the things he had did, but it was God's permissive will that he do it in that way. And the government got what they wanted, and the black community got some of the things they thought they wanted. When Martin Luther King realized that sitting at a lunch counter didn't mean nothing because the government didn't have to pay nothing out for you to sell a lunch counter, but to give that equity there, as we go to Washington to cash out a check, give that money there so you could build your life because they got your land. See, Martin Luther King knew that they had your land. He knew that that farmland belonged to you and your ancestors. He knew that. And he knew that before Jackson, and at different times, certain areas of the South, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, belonged to a Cherokee nation. He knew that. He knew that Andrew Jackson ran those people off their land after they found gold in the northern part of Georgia. See, all these things Martin Luther King had a knowledge of, So he knew certain things. So when he say certain words, you could see it in his speech. When he knew that they brought the European over here and they gave them land and grants and land grants and farm grants to do certain things on your own land. Took your land from them, and then they didn't give you other land to compensate. See, he knew all these things. But you're not going to hear this in a Martin Luther King parade. You're not going to hear this in a Martin Luther King breakfast. You're not going to hear none of this stuff. You're not going to hear it in your school system. You got to go do your homework, my people. I lived in the era, so I know you got to go do your homework. You need to do your homework, my people. They was more concerned about feeling like represented as a man, a voting right and all that as a man. Make me feel like a man. I want to feel like I'm human because what was going on before Martin Luther King started that? Before Martin Luther King started that, in 1910 and that, they had fairs in New York and Chicago where you had the Europeans and the Germans and etc. scholars tried to make you look like you came from the apes and all that. That you were less than a man. So Martin Luther King don't spend their time trying to prove that you was human or you was just qualified as everybody else was. And they had to do that quite a bit, even before Martin Luther King. Booker T, them was doing the same thing. And so you got to understand more about your history, not told from a Eurocentric way that they want to say, oh, he was just a good man after they done destroyed him. Come on. Think back now. It wasn't the FBI and the other ones tied up in this murder. Now, come on. You know, the police department, you know, clans and all that tied up in this murder. Come on now. Don't sit there and act like your government is lily clean when your government target black leaders, target people that they consider will be a messiah. Black Panther leader, target them. And that's what you're dealing with. And you want to think that our brothers and sisters that go in the legislation, departments and stuff like that, who could do certain things? No, They may mean well. They may mean well. But in the end of the day, they got to do and be to the beat of the Eurocentric, listen to me, the Eurocentric, what we'll call manifest destiny. You can't do it, my people. You can't never deliver yourself if you're walking in a Eurocentric manifest destiny. You got to walk in your own, especially when you're a nation of people. 50 million people or more on this planet, on this continent, and you talking about you don't know that you're supposed to have your own manifest destiny, but you've been to some of the best schools ever was, and you talking about you learn, you know, that's bad. You got all these black scholars, all these black preachers, all of them here, and they cannot get you out of this condition. It's a problem. And you need to start finding out where that problem lies. I tell you where it lies at. They don't teach you of your God. Number one, the morals, your God, knowing the God of your fathers. How he said, Elijah, thou will turn the hearts of the children to the fathers and the hearts of the fathers to the children. You got to know thought, my people. He's in the book. The Eurocentric man know he's in the book. He put him in the book, but he wouldn't tell you he's in the book. You got to know him, okay? You got to know him. You got to understand that Melchizedek priesthood. You got to know that. You got to form an organization that's going to have those priests, not just a fraternity that follow in the Greeks, or a fraternity that's going to follow God's peoples, the ancient Egyptian philosophy and all that in the age, from the age of thought. The age of Allah. This way. Muslims didn't create Allah, people. They found Allah when they was there. Allah always been there. He's the angelic name for God the Almighty. Okay? So you could worship God and they don't have to be called a Muslim. Okay? And I'm not coming down on the Muslim because all religions have their disadvantages. Okay? But we got to see this truthism because we need to move forward because a lot of Africans are Muslims. A lot of Africans are Muslims. A lot of Africans have their energy and their faith in Muhammad. In Allah and Muhammad. They do not know Allah and thought. And the white man don't mind you having your faith in Allah and Muhammad and not knowing the God and the priest of the most high God, thought, who is Melchizedek priesthood. They don't want you to know that. Okay? They want you to be Muslim, be this, be Christians, be this. I can't do nothing but tell you the truth, my people. I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you. I'm gonna tell you the truth. And that's all I could do. Let me deal with these names, because I'm gonna start speeding this lecture up and make it a little more shorter. But you could go on with this here, knowing what our people don't know. And don't get me wrong, I'm not mad with my people at all. I love my people. I love my people. But I know that we have to use intelligence now. We got to understand what the manifest destiny is all about. How it's supposed to be applied to our life. How it's not a Eurocentric thing. It's something that came from God, from the knowledge of God, from our ancestors. When you stand up and you hold the Ankh out, the Ankh tell you to manifest destiny. You hold your arm out and you see the cross there, it tell you to manifest destiny. When you open your arm like that and you see a diagram of a star, a David, or a diagram of the stars, of the pyramid, it'll tell you about the manifest destiny, my people. But you've never been taught that. And you got to understand. You got to understand that. Morally, you got to look up to your God, the God of your fathers. Economically, you got to control your economics. That means you got to control that land mass as well. The economic, everything that come out of the ground, everything that may produce, you got to be able to control it. Politically, socially, you got to control your own neighborhood. You got to control your life. You got to come up with the laws that dictate the way that you run your community. Socially, politically, you got to be able to have your own government. You got to control you 50 million people or more. You should not be on this land without your own government by now. You got to control your own government. DNA, diet and appetite, what you put in your life, bring your life, and what you eat, you need to control that. You need to control your farming environment. You need to control the things that you bring in and out of your life. You need to have total control of that. Now, one key, from the cradle to the grave, those 5 divine laws, and they're found in Genesis 1:28. Those 5 divine laws, you cannot be exempted from that as a human being from the cradle to the grave. So whoever control that and understand that, they are your masters. And the Eurocentric man have controlled and understood that. And they have been your masters for over 400 years, almost. Okay, and we got to see that. In different other areas, even longer than that. And we need to see that. It's very important. Now, let's deal with the name. Antoinette McMullen, Philip Davis, Demelia C. Fennell, this Deacons. You got Marvin Creed, you got Lord Hill, you got the Neophytes Incorporated, you got Leon James, you got Marwin G, you got Brian E. Foster, you got Steve Coleman, you got Joyce and Robert Cromwell, you got Adrian Herman, and you got Miss Clara Woods, okay? And these individuals that we have to look at and understand that they are here to help us out. I see one new name that I put on the board. And we want, like last week we say we want new people to be able to put on the board as well. At least I got one here. I need 10 more. So please, let's put some new names on there. So we need new people start sending in donations so we can recognize you as people who are trying to help this organization move forward. Now, Isaiah 42:8. I am the Lord, thought is my name. This is written just like this in the scripture now. Isaiah 42:8. I want you to look at this. Isaiah 42:8. I am the Lord. Now, this is how I'm going to read, and you got to understand the mythology. You got to understand the arts. You're going to read this and you're going to see, I am the Lord. That is my name. That's what you're going to see. I am the Lord. That is my name. It's not I am the Lord. That is my name. They took the word thought and they translated into that so you would know. And only an initiate will know what this is. And this is why you need the arts. Someone that understands the arts. And you'll know, I am the Lord. That thought is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praises to graven images. Are we giving praises to graven images? Jesus came, Jesus, not the name Jesus. Jesus is a code name for the messenger name. But the Jesus character goes all the way back to Ptolemy the first time during the time of Serapis. And you have to understand it. Came from Serapis. Later you had Mitra, and later you had Yahshua, and later you had Jesus, and later you had Jesus Christ. This is how that image have moved. People who study about, was a priest Innocent, or one of the priests, he took his son and had his son portrait turned into had a portrait of the son turned to made as the Jesus Christ portrait at that particular time. And you got to see these different things. This is a historical event. So when you look at a picture of the Jesus of the day, you're going to see something a little close to that picture of, I think, Pope Innocent or one of those Pope's son. And you need to see this. This is history. It's not nothing. Look it up, my people. Check me. This is our history. So when you be looking at that picture of Jesus, you're looking at a graven image. You look at the statue of Jesus, you're looking at a graven image. That's not somebody who real. That's not somebody who even was real. And you got to see this. It's very important. And this is the great deception. And as long as our people be caught up in that great deception, then God, it's going to be very difficult for God to permit certain things to happen. Now, you got to understand God now. God knows that living on this earth ain't what it's all about neither. He knows that, hey, look, absent from the body, present with the Lord. So don't think God won't permit certain people to be off this planet so he could get what he need to get done. Because in the procession of the equinox, nobody, Eurocentric man or nobody, is going to stop that procession from doing what it's supposed to do. It's going to do what it's supposed to do, and no devil in hell, and there's no hell, Catholic came up with the word hell, but no devil in Hades, or devil wherever he may be, could stop that cycle. That cycle go on and on and on and on, from the dark age, where we coming out, to the bronze age, to the silver age, to the gold age, come back around from the gold age, the silver age, the bronze age, back into the dark age, and they do it for millions and millions of years. And in that time when it's doing that, you have what you call dimensions of time operating at the same time. Dimensions of time operating at the same time. So if you think we just here and there's no other dimension within eyesight, they there, you just can't see them. You're vibrating at a different level, my people. But these laws and this book is telling you about this dimension, where we're vibrating at now and what we should do in this physical body. What we have right now. And it's very important. And those 5 divine laws are very important. That is what it means by hearing the voice of God. And we have to see that. Let's move on. Okay, a key. Isaiah 42:9. Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. Now, God's sending you a messenger. Now, any messenger say that he's sent by God, he must be able to know how this is worked. The former things are come to pass. He got to show you how things in the past was formed in the way that God had permitted to be, or in the way that the initiates have wrote it to be. You got to be able to have that skill. Also, and new things do I declare. You got to be able to tell you what's going to happen now. You're going to have to be able to tell you what's going to happen now. Okay, we got to see that. And behold, it say, and new things do I declare. Then it say, before they spring forth, I'll tell you of them. Now, before things happen, that person got to be able to tell you them. Okay, let's deal with it now. In this book, on page 93, the book was written in 2006. There were things that I showed you, and the book came out in 2006, and the chart had started, was activated in 2000, okay? And in this book, I showed you how there's going to be a pattern of things, okay? The first 5 years had already happened, okay, in that chart. The first 5 years had already happened. I had already show you that. The present year, 2006, I had to show you what was going to happen in 2006 on that chart. And when you look at that chart, 2006, the economy was just like I said. And we got to see this. 2006 was going to be a good year dealing with economics. We're going to be a good year. The next year, which you say, before that spring forth, I'll tell you of them, the next year had to be known too. The next year, 2007, was known as a bad year dealing with economics, and 2008 was a grievously bad year dealing with economics. So 2007, after this book was written, this book showed you it was already written, and God made sure I put this book out there before all this other stuff happened, and it showed you exactly what. Did we have a grievously bad year in 2007 and 2008? 2008 when we had the stock market crash. 2007 was leading up to it when you had those cockles and old business had to be built out. Okay, then the next year I told you that 2009, dealing with corn natural disasters, was going to be a good year. Anything happened in 2009 there. But 2010 and 2011 were going to be a bad and a grievously bad year. And you had those things happen. And see, what it is, if you say God have called you and you come before these people, you better show evidence of this. Because this is how you could identify, along with other things, a messenger. He got to, or she got to. It ain't even no she out now. He got to, or she got to be able to know this particular thing. Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, before they come, I'll tell you of them. And he got to be able to show the past, present, and future in his teaching. And he got to have evidence where he been doing that. He got to have evidence that he knew what he was talking about when he writes a thing as page 127. No, he writes something to translate Nostradamus' writing, and he said on there, could Nostradamus be saying there will be a powerful black president in the near future in America? And what happened? In 2006, Barack Obama, who knew Barack Obama? Nobody hardly knew no Barack Obama. He hadn't decided in 2005, 2006, he hadn't declared that he was going to run for president. The book started writing of the book in 2004, and it released in 2006. So at the time when this was written, Barack Obama wasn't even on the scene when they're talking about a presidential candidate, et cetera, and a black man in general. When most people realize, they think back, when Barack Obama was running for office, nobody wanted to hear nothing about a man that sounded like he was Muslim, not even black folks. It didn't matter what you wanted to hear. It mattered of the truth that was to come to you. There will be a black president in the very near future. From 2006 and 2009, Barack Obama came on the scene. That's in the book. See, when I'm trying to let you know that what I'm giving you is truthisms. I'm giving you the truth that you need to know to be delivered from the condition you are in. Now, you got many preachers out there, and they telling you, oh, get saved and do this and you die there, But what I'm going to do about them living? What I'm going to do about here? What am I supposed to do? Other countries, other races, and other people, they getting some of the pleasure in life. Look at the peoples in Dubai. Look at the peoples in different countries and different places. They getting some of the pleasure in life. Why we as a black people, why we as the native peoples of America got to catch this hell that we're in when we supposed to be following the true and divine God? See, you got to come to a conclusion. You can't sit there and ignore that. Because you got people looking around you, and these young people looking around you, you talking about, oh, let's go to church and let's serve the Lord, let's do this and that and that. But then you ain't living, or they can't see that those blessings of God in your life other than, hey, we still living. Oh, we got a house to live in. Yeah, other people still living. Other people got a house to live in too. So what is the difference? What is happening that ain't giving you that plus? Unity with integrity. So if you can't unify yourself and you don't know what you're supposed to be unifying yourself with, you can't be delivered. And this Eurocentric man know that. And he's going to keep this tight rope on your behind as long as he can, because he know you have never learned those divine laws, not in your Masonic order neither. You haven't learned it, my people, and you got to have it. You got to have it to be delivered from this condition. And you got to put up the work and effort necessary to unify yourself in those 5 areas: moral, socially, politically, economically, and your diet and your appetite. You got to do it, my people, because those are 5 divine laws from God the Almighty for humanity. Not just for black folks, not just for His chosen people, for all of humanity. And in this country, we'll participate of it. We'll not, and don't even know it. We don't even know it. We just doing what the white man tells us to do. Okay, you need to go get your job. Okay, you want this loan. Okay. You need to be able to have a higher knowledge or get in certain skill areas if you want to be able to run this kind of business, or you want to have this kind of economics. Okay. You need to eat a certain way if you want to kind of like stay healthy. Do this. Just don't eat obese, but try to eat some things, and at the same time, He's pumping all this other stuff to you. Okay? You need to participate in the government. Now you need to vote. So you need to learn, and you fight for voting, you need to use voting. But everything you're doing, you need to look at God. Really, you got to go to church. You need to worship God. Even if you ain't go to church, you got to believe in Jesus. Okay? This is what the Eurocentric man giving you, because that is what's building his manifest destiny. And you think that that's the way that you got to go, because you never been taught this stuff. You didn't even know that such thing exists. Now, when the little black man, Louis Jerome Armstrong, come and give you the odds, tell you about the odds, tell you about certain scriptures, tell you about his name, tell you about his vision of thought coming to him and calling him forth and bringing a book thicker than this book that said Holy Bible on it. And he took it out of the area of the clouds as he came forward to me. And he said to me, I want you to be just like us. See, somebody who come testifying and telling you that, that's that nigga words. That's all, that ain't nothing to that. That's not. You see what I'm saying? When the scripture, your own scripture tell you that he must be born in 1954, October the 22nd of 1954, and your own scripture say he must come to an area like Jerusalem, born in an area like Jerusalem. But see, you ain't do no homework, no studying. You never studied and understand that the scriptures say he's going to come in the area known where the fountain at, where the black church is down in that area where the fountain at. In this gulf-like area, or this peninsula-shaped like area. But see, you don't see that. And because you don't do your homework, and you want the Eurocentric man to tell you everything, and you want your black preacher who went and learned from the Eurocentric man to tell you that he is the scholarly realm of this to help guide you, you fall in a trap. You trapped, my people. You're in a trap. And I'm trying to get you the hell up out of there. Excuse my French. It's time for us to wake up, my people. This is not a lecture where I'm saying, whoa, no. It's time to talk. Some lecture you could do that, but this is a lecture where you need to talk to your people and tell them to pay attention to what's going on, because you have a love for them. And you know God loves them, and God, this is a deliverance time. This is a zeitgeist time. So I got to do my job, and I got to do the best I can at my job now. Because God is going to deliver you. Now, he could do two ways to deliver you. Get you to walk on into this truth, or he could drag the heck out of you. He could make something way worse than this COVID come in your life. And you got to understand that God is God. And his word is never going to go void. Heck of high water. He ain't going to happen. And this is what I'm trying to deliver. This is what I'm trying to say. God done let me know this is the way that he's going to do this, and you need to study so you can understand and go from there. Genesis 28:14. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou should spread abroad. Thou shalt spread abroad, and to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. All the families. See, in you is going to come the salvation of the world. That's why I'm coming here. That's why I'm talking like I do. You may not see this, but some of you that really love God, God has done showed y'all who in front of you. You got to be able to do this, but it got to be the mass of our people that know this type of knowledge. Because through you will the earth. When we say the earth, this is a level of the sod. This is talking about Turtle Island, and this is also talking about the globe. And it's everywhere going to be delivered through you and blessed through you. Because the Eurocentric don't love you that way. He don't love you that way. He cares less. He'll drop a bomb in Asia and drop 2 or several atomic bombs and kill up so many people. He don't care. He don't care nothing about that, dropping bombs and stuff on people and things like that, instead of bringing other ways to resolve things. He don't care. In certain parts of Africa, had one king cuts everybody, so many people's hands off. Thousands and thousands of people's hands off. He didn't care. He didn't care. It wasn't in his heart to care for you like that. It wasn't in the heart of the prodigal son, brother, to care for him like that, to bring him up to the standard that he was. He wanted him to see himself as a inferior to his brother. And that wasn't good. And that's an example of the Eurocentric man here. Now, I like to have a large Eurocentric audience listen to me too. But I got to teach these things so it could build up to where it need to get to, because everybody, like the scripture says, all families of the earth will be blessed. That's Eurocentric, Gentiles, and Jews. Everybody. So am I saying that white folks ain't going to be blessed through this? Yeah, of course they're going to be blessed. But some things got to happen. Their nation, the way that they done put it, being a lot of racism and prejudice in the laws that they got spread around the world and all that, that got to go. And they're not going to straighten it out themselves, because they the one doing it. So God has to send somebody else in the midst that's going to be fair, going to have unity with integrity for all humanity, to be a voice to this great movement that's supposed to take place. You see in Genesis, I'm sure the arcs. The arcs is very important, and I'm putting them up here like this and like this, so you could go back after this video and at your leisure and study this, because this is something you need to know, because you need to help teach these people the knowledge that they need to know to be delivered. Yeah, that's what God got you here for. To actually know this stuff, you ones that have the ability to do this, learn it, teach it, and show them, wow them at some things they didn't know before. Let's deal with it. Genesis 15:13. Now we know, we have heard them talk about this all the time for a long time. Even the Muslims talk about it a lot. But a lot of them, they didn't never narrow the date down until we start teaching the arts. Then we start talking about August the 1st, 1619. Most people were saying that the 400 years was over about 40, 50 years ago. But see, they were dealing with nations, not nation, like the scriptures say. And they was not dealing with the ark, so they could not put it in its proper place because of the knowledge not being there when they deal with the ark. You got to have the ark. Scripture say the ark must come. And we got to see that. Told Hagar that there will have a son with the arks. Be born with the arts in the black church. He will come with the arts. And that's what we're here for. That's what I'm doing. I'm showing you the arts. I'm teaching you the arts. I'm teaching you the fullness of the gospel. What you need to be delivered so you can understand this book better, because the Eurocentric in the aristocrat area, they know the book, but they ain't telling you the book. Because if they start telling you the truth of how they got you in bondage, then you're going to be free, and they feel like you may penalize them. So they're not going to do that. But they know it's going to be done, but they ain't going to actually open the door for you. They ain't going to make that room for you, just like the prodigal son. The brother knew one day that was going to happen, but he wasn't open the door for them to give him that. What God had to do, God had to send his messenger to give him the coat, the ring, the shoes, okay, the meal. And God kissed him before all that, give him the morality, the blessings, okay, the morals. And we see that it's strictly in that story. Then we have to see that story. Now, as we go along, we will see that this is what they call numbering the stars. If you hear God talk to Abraham in around 15:4, in certain 15:4, somewhere in the area, you're going to talk about numbering the stars. Tell Abraham, number the stars if thou can. He didn't say count the stars, he said number. This is a star here. This is a star. In order to number the stars, you got to know something about the geometry, or you got to know something about mathematics and how it fit with it. Okay, and this star is also similar to the star of Solomon, star David. Someone call it the star David, etc. And you got to understand how it works. You go from this degree from here to here, it's 18 degrees, from here to here, 36 degrees, from here to here, 54 degrees, from here to here, 72, here to here is 90, here to here, 108, here to here, 126, here to here, 100, here to here, 144. Okay, now you're going to hear that 144 many times in the scripture, especially in Revelation. You're going to hear that term 144,000. When you hear that term 144,000, and most people think that that's 144,000 people, I seen hear a lot about Jehovah's Witnesses or Seventh-day Adventists. They talk about that as though they're people. They're not peoples, although they are people. Now I'm going to say that again. They're not people, but although they are people. It's talking about a people in a circumference of time, 144,000 days. That's the circumference of time. And the peoples in this circumference of time. That's what it's about. And most people don't know that because they don't know the odds. 144,000 is a people's in the circumference of time. And what do they say after that? Then a number no man can number. Why? Because these people's in the circumference of time. So what it is, this circumference of time, 44,000, is going to go and go and go. And it's going to be a number that no man can number, because as you entering out of this dark age and you going into this age of Aquarius, this good time is going to go over and over and over and over again, and no man can number. It's going to come all the way back to the Noah time. And this is what this is. This art here is to be used in the timing of inside the timing of the precession of the equinox. It's very important because there's an energy there. There's an energy there, and I'm going to show you how to understand it and how the Eurocentric. Even they put this on the back of the dollar bill. They have used it and willed it to keep everybody under their government under control so they can will it. Okay, let's deal with it. 1619, we had what the assembly got together in Virginia in the church, and they established a nation here in the United States. Okay, we see that. They established that nation in the United States, and on August the 1st, 1619, they passed a law on how they were going to control indentured servants / slave, and how they were going to, the price of tobacco. Now I think this assembly went on for 2 weeks or something like that. And what they did, they established the first law, or the first government, as they would say, in the New World, in America. Now we got to see, this 18, this is 18,000 days, because when you divide 8, you got 8 of these divided into 144,000, it gives you 18,000 days. So you take 18,000 days, you divide 360, or you divide 365.25 into that 18,000 days. If you divide 360, you get 50 years. That's where you get that 50-year jubilee in Leviticus. Okay, yeah. And then if you divide that by 365.25, you get to 49. That's where you get that 49 and that 50 year when they talk about the Jubilee time. That's how you understand that. But what you got to see is that in this, each one of these points, each one of these is going to bring about a law that's going to be there in order to keep these peoples under a certain type of bondage. Down here, I'm going to show you all these laws and all these things that happen. You have from 1619, it goes 50 years from that, you had 1669. 1669, let's find out what happened in 1669. In 1669, you got the Casual Killing Act of 1669. What was going on then? What they said is that any Eurocentric man, anybody who owned slaves, a indentured servant, if they killed them, and for punishment they would kill them or something like that, they would not be not a criminal offense. I want you to hear that now. Because right now, if a police officer had been in time past, and it's still in a lot of cities now, when a police officer, now they ain't saying regular people, but sometimes white folks too, police officer or some white person, like the Zimmerman thing and all that, kill a black person, 9 times out of 10, they'll find a way for them to get off. Okay. For them to get off, because they had laws way back there. You kill a black man, a black woman, you don't get penalized for it in the court system. And that's what was happening. Now what we had after then, we had 50 years later. 50 years later, we had 1718. What happened in 1718? Let's deal with 1718, and let's see what happened. We're dealing with blacks in America. Okay, you had in 1718, you had the Code Navarre. It's Noir. That was from the French. The French had slavery in Biloxi, and they had these codes about how blacks should act and how they're going to govern blacks at that particular time in Biloxi. 50 years later, 1767, let's deal with 1767. You had another law passed in 1767, the Thompson Act. I should always remember that one. The Thompson Act. What was happening in the Thompson Act? See, you had a black start rebelling against the colonies and etc. And they didn't want that because they was Indians. Them Indians was going to get their children. See, because they were warned, America was warned against these Indians, and they were taking them children and giving them to the settlers and etc., hoping that they won't grow up to be more warriors. They'll grow up being servants to the colonies and etc. And these people need to grow their farm and whatever they need to do, and that would be the best place for them to be. So they was taking these people, children, taking their wives and stuff when they raided these camps, and it was strictly war. They was prisoners of war, but they don't tell you that these Indians was prisoners of war. They don't tell you. It's just like, oh, we went and we went and raided and did this and we left and everything was all right. No. That's not how it was going. But they ain't gonna tell you that, and you're not gonna find many history books at all teach you this kind of stuff. And you need to know that. Let's go on. After the Thompson Act in 1816, they'll go where we at right there. Now, what they were doing here, they was enslaving you more, keeping you bondage. Now, they was having so many insurrections, and they said, okay, we don't want Spain and Britain got together, so we don't want to bring no more blacks from Africa or other areas into our colonies. And this is what they were doing. And they were pushing the African thought ideology. They wanted blacks to think that most blacks came from Africa more than they came from the inner continent that they came from. And Jamaica and Barbados and all that other stuff, and Cuba and all this other stuff. They wanted you to think that they were coming from way over there when they were coming from, someone was coming from the island. And someone was native who was put into a servitude, what they call Indian children, natives put into servitude at that time, and they wanted to shift that idea of Africa on you. Put more Africa. And most of you didn't come from no Africa. You came right here from the United States, but they want that ideology in your mind because they couldn't make a movement right there. And you got to understand, what was the movement? The movement was that they were giving blacks an opportunity to start their own church. The AME church started in 1816. Look it up so you can see for yourself. Know that these ain't just numbers I'm throwing at you. 1816, the AME church started. And what else started other than the AME church? Let's deal with 1816 because we need to know this different stuff. 1816, the AME church did laws banning African slave trade, bringing people from Africa, and the American Colonization Society. See, people don't know much about that, and they got to understand, why was the American Colonization Society there? Because in the beginning, people like him, them, and other people, they were trying to find a place to send you to get you off your land so they could dominate in the colonies, and the newfound European settlers could come in and occupy that land. So they need to get you somewhere. They were trying to get you into Africa because a few blacks did come from Africa. So they're trying to get all of you over there to Africa. Even the native blacks of America, they're trying to get all of them up out of here so they could have this land freely. And most people don't know that. They think the colonization thing, oh, they was good white folks and they were so good that they managed to do this and that. No, they ain't like slavery, but they like your land too. They didn't like slavery, but they like your land too. And you know, a good way to get you up out of here, get you and send you to Liberia or somewhere over there in a settlement. But the Europeans, the British didn't want that because they already had a colony over there for blacks, and they were shipping their blacks over there. And they didn't want American blacks to come, neither did God want them to come there, because God knew that that's the same way they come from. Their land is the way they are. And if you study about Andrew Jackson, you'll find out that Andrew Jackson had a plan set up where blacks, if you don't go out west, you don't decide to go out west to Oklahoma way, well, you ain't going to be seen as native in it. You're going to be like regular people of color, and we're going to take your land. And some of them prefer staying there on that land, working that land, and sharing that land with the Europeans than to go way on a trail of tears that they don't know nothing about. And people don't know that. It's like People talk about the Underground Railroad where they went up to Europe. Well, man, the people weren't thinking about them going way up to Europe, up in Canada, all that junk. Them people go down in Florida where the Seminoles go down there at. And them people went down there. That's how you get the word Seminole. Seminole Indians called runaway slaves. And they mixed with the other Indians, and that's how you got the Seminole Indian. Them people wasn't going way over there up there in that cold weather we ain't know nothing about. See, they make up stories and they do. Not saying that she didn't exist, but in reality, I don't know if she exists or not. Because they got debates on whether she ever existed. See, they could tell you a story and make up something because they want you to think a certain way. And anytime they want you to think a certain way, they're going to make it up. They made up Santa Claus, didn't they? They made up Santa Claus. And people believed that for a long time until they got a little older and they realized, you know, we got to drop this one. Even to the kids, we got to drop this one. You know, and so it's a lot of stories been made up that been half truths, as they say, but not really the reality of things. So we got to see all that. Very important to know that. Let's see what happened next. In 50 years later, in 1865, what we should see about 1865. Now we know that we had in 1865. We had the abolition of slavery. We know that we had that because the emancipation was came about in 1862, and it went out January 1st of 1863. Okay. And then in 1865, you had that emancipation of abolition of slavery, had the the Civil War over with. And then you also had the end of the Civil War, but you had at the same time that the odds fall on the birth of the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, at the same time. See, they never wanted to put you in motion where you have a freedom. They always had a trap door there to get you out of the condition that you want to be into a condition that they wanted to keep you in. So you got to understand that this is history, people. This is history. I know what they done taught you in school, but you got to go study this stuff for yourself and understand how this thing works. And then you can see this wheel being wheeled on you for 400 years. After that, you had 1914. What happened in 1914 and what's so crucial about 1914? And it's that we can understand that it deals with African Americans, an important thing in African American life. There's eight different points there, and all 8 of them became important in African American life or Native American life, and we need to see that. So in 1914, what happened in 1914? It was a time when you had the Jim Crows. Okay, you had World War I, and you had the Black Exodus. Now, why was that? Because the boll weevil down south hadn't got and it started eating the crops, and you had some bad years for the cotton and tobacco and all that other stuff. And these Jim Crow laws was really hanging black folks down south and stuff like that. It wasn't so good in some parts of the north neither, but they were hanging black folks down south, and then it was just a mess. And black folks wanted to get the heck out of the south, and then they was trying to go up north because during the time of the war, they had 3 million Europeans, white from America, going off in World War I. So they had a job shortage, and the Jews and other ones that had these factories up north and different things. White folks had these factories up north. They was encouraging the blacks to leave them plantations, leave them during farm areas, and come up north and work in the factories. And blacks wanted that because it wasn't going good down south, so they wanted that. So you had a tremendous exodus, a tremendous exodus. And this is what happened at that time. That's why at the time where the Harlem Renaissance came from. And then you had some go out west. See, this is our history, my people. This is Bible here. Numbering the stars, not counting them, numbering the stars. This is Bible. I'm teaching you Bible right now. And you need to see this because you are the ones that in the Bible. You are the ones that's connected to that Hebrew Egyptian mystery system that Abraham stand for. Because Abraham learned his knowledge, as the scriptures say, he learned from Melchizedek, which the priest of the Most High God was the Egyptian king priest. Okay? And we got to see this now. You got to see this. Prove me wrong. You need to see this. Check me. You need to see this. It's very important now. Now, what happened in 50 years later, 1964? Let's deal with 1964 in the numbering of the stars. In 1964, let's deal with it. In 1964, we had the Civil Rights Act. Okay, and what did it do? It outlawed racism and segregation and place. First thing was in the places that the government owned, etc. Later, all the other things followed suit. But at that time, it had there, and it gave you a right to go to a bathroom. It gave you a right to sit at a lunch counter. It gave you a right to work in a certain job environment that you once was neglected from or didn't give you things. It gave you certain things, but then at the same time, it took away a lot of your black businesses. Those black businesses that you once had, you lost them. Okay, because you prefer going in a white cab company instead of a black cab company. You prefer riding in a white bus company and not a black bus company. You prefer going in Bloomingdale's. You prefer going in these all other stores are Sears and Roebuck and Macy's and all the other stores. You prefer going in there than to going in your own stores, and you lost your economic venture. You lost not only that, when you were building all these houses and all this, you lost your contractors. You lost a lot. You lost your businesses. And you had to go and you prefer, okay, I want to work at the post office. I want to work here. You wasn't thinking about building your own businesses and stuff like that. You were thinking about working for the white man so you could make more than what you had made in the past for the black man. And that's what you were thinking about. You were giving up, I would say, tangerines for certain oranges. Okay, but you wasn't getting nothing in return because what you did, that's what led Martin Luther King to that point where it said, it's as though I led my peoples into a burning fire. Because they didn't have to do nothing to give you the right to sit at a lunch counter and the right to drink from a water fountain and the right to vote at a certain thing. But you gave up a lot. When you had all these vanguards in your community, you had all these people who had their own businesses that the kids could look at and marvel at. These role models and all that, you lost all of it. When you had it where you could go to Mr. John's store on your way home and get you, buy you something, and he said to you, or his wife said to you, if you show me you come in with some good grades, I'm gonna give you some gifts. I'm gonna give you some things out of the store that you ain't even got to pay for. And you made it your business to go there and show them grades to them, and they award you. You go to one of these people's stores now who don't even know you, ain't part of your culture, don't live in your neighborhood. They don't know nothing about your people like that. When I hear some of the things said to certain blacks, grown behind men, when I drop by in a certain neighborhood and I drop by the store and I look at it, man, I be wanting to kick them people behind out of our neighborhood. And you go into some of the bathrooms and look at the filth. One time, the government didn't allow that. Now you can see anything goes. But it's in your community. You go in the all-white community, you ain't gonna see none of that. They're gonna run the store right. They're gonna keep the bathroom clean. They're gonna do this right. They're gonna keep the refrigerators up and stuff like that. They're gonna do what's right. But to you, the Eurocentric man have brought people into your neighborhood, into your world, to rob you out of your riches and take them back into his environment. And your black leadership ain't doing jack. Because they're more concerned about the bottom line. They're more concerned about their money constituents than the peoples who voted for them. People, your vote for these peoples ain't about jack other than they glad you got them in that seat. But when it comes to lobbying, it ain't you. It's big business lobbying for what they want. So your politics is in his manifest destiny and not in a manifest destiny that's fitting for your people and your community. and it must change. And if you don't wake up and change it, God will. I'm going to say this again. If you don't wake up and come in your senses and change it, God will. And you may not like how God will do what he do. Because he done said in Malachi, he said, if this don't do, a certain thing don't happen, he will come and curse the earth. And he's saying that. That's where we at now. And that's what you need to know. Now let's go on down because I ain't got but a few more minutes. I think my time is running out. Okay. Now, what happened? 2013, that's the 8th one. See, this not going. People think, oh, this go around, it's supposed to be 2014. No, 2019. No, it's 2013 because you're dealing with 360 days a year in the arts, not 365. And you got to understand that. The 144,000 days of the 400 years in there, knowing the arts, knowing how to number the stars is when we put it to our day and time, it's only 394 days. But when you do it the biblical way that you're doing it, is 400 years of 360 days a year. And you have to understand that. But you got some conversions you have to do to this to get the right dates to know what it means. You got to know what these dates are, so you got to make that conversion into our days and our time. And that way you can see this. It's very important, my people. It's very important. See, now, what happened in 2013? Now, we know that was the year that you re-elect Barack Obama. What we had? We had the Voting Right Act versus Shelby County. Okay, and what was they doing? These rights that we had gained, they were stripping them from you. They were stripping them from you, and they still doing it today. You hear it on the news now. Before this election for 2022, they stripping your rights away, and they was doing it back then in 2013. And see, most people they don't realize that a lot of these states that have these senators and these congressmen, they ain't voting toward you for you. If you start counting what senator, what congressman voted against the civil rights bill, against this and against that, you'll find out that in your state, you have been done. If you kept up with this stuff, you've been trying to kick some of these people out. But your black leadership don't say this one didn't vote for that bill, or this one didn't vote for that, or that these bills that benefit you. They're not spending their time campaigning and around the city telling you. They're trying to get reelected. They ain't trying to tell you what's going on. And you need people telling you what's going on. Organizations telling you what's going on. And this is what Crossrock Incorporated is doing and is to do in the very near future. Build that atmosphere, build that type of people. And you can't build it without money, my people. See, when you want something done, you could get it done when you help back it and sponsor it. And this is why this organization want to do a lot of things to help you and inform you of certain things. I don't want to be the only one talking to you. We want on the channel where other people telling you things, important things, telling you about ways that you get money in, that you could use this here knowledge and go get this or get that, ways that you could understand what political trick they trying to put on you and how to deter that or go another way or bring a voice to that. See, there's a lot of things in this. 5 divine areas. A lot of things about food that you need to know about. Alkaline content and all that, pH level. A lot of this stuff you need to know. See, the church got to teach you the 5 areas. And they got to be able to do that. If a preacher in a church and his gut like that, and he ain't trying to tell you to get away from them chicken wings and those neck bones and all that other stuff, then at this particular time in human history, there's a problem. There's a problem. If he ain't telling you about exercise, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about something, because if I don't watch out, mine will be like that. And I'm a vegetarian. But what I'm trying to say to you is that your whole life is what the Bible talk about. Not one particular area, not, oh, I'm getting saved and going to heaven type thing. People, you can live a heaven here as you maintaining yourself to go to the other side. But see, they're not talking about the heaven on earth. See, you leaving here and ain't got this and you struggling and something like that. And when God come in your life, He will take care of you from that point on, not some other time. And we got to see this. All this stuff is very important. The events between 1816, I want you to pay attention. The events between 1816 and 1865, right here. These events right here. I want you to see this because this is extremely important. This is the arts, my people. You got to know about the arts. This time right here, y'all got to know this now. This time right here, you need to see this. You need to go and find out what events happened between 1816 and 1865. You need to know that. This is part of what my other lectures is going to talk about. This is how you can see the future before it happened. This time here must mirror, it ain't here like that. This time here, in the next counting of the stars, that start from 2013 and go on. That time is going to mirror, this is going to go up there in the next star. In the next star count, the events that happen here, going to go up here in the next star count. Not this one. This is the old star count. In the new star count, the events that happen in the old star count, over here in the new star count, they're going to come. As above, so below. As below, so above. And you're going to see that. And you need to know that. It's very, very important because you're going to see the future. And on one of my other videos after this, I'm going to bring this here back up. And I'm going to show you all the events that happen here and how they are mirroring events right now that's going here and what's going to happen. You're going to have a civil war. You're going to have a world war. Okay? You're going to have a changing of land. Some land that was taken from black folks over here in 1813 going to be given to black folks over here. Okay? See, people got to understand what's going to happen, and these things going to happen, and you need to know that it's going to happen. Now, this is the closing this. We're going to have a zeitgeist of time. I got to show that because I got to shut it down now. We got a zeitgeist of time right here, 2016 to 2000. This is a very crucial part of time. It's going to tell you, you're living in right now in what they call the end of time of the dog age, not end of the world. And this time right here, it's going to be a zeitgeist time, and you're going to see me talk about it down here. From 2013 to 2063, that next point there, is going to be a part of the zeitgeist, but it's going to narrow it down from 2016 to 2026, right in this time here, when he said he has to cut time short, that there'll be no flesh saved. This COVID is part of that time, my people. This COVID is inside that time. That time there, it's the soul of what's going to happen. If you don't get things right in this time, where we at now, in 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026, if you can't get it right now, they're going to spin that wheel on you. And you got to get it right. And there's going to be some events that's going to happen where God is not going to permit it to be so. You finna have some events right now, finna hit this planet, finna hit this nation. There's gonna have a world war involved in it, gonna have a civil war involved in it, gonna have what they had during the time of right before Lincoln them started the Civil War. You had where the states were breaking off concessions. You're gonna have all these things that's gonna happen in between this time. You're going to have economic problems. You're going to have all this stuff is going to be happening, and you can see some of it, the light of some of it, already done started in this time here. It's called the zeitgeist time, and we must understand that. Now, that's the end of the lecture. I'd like you to donate. When we say help us get our land, we ain't talking about buying no land. We're talking about 4 states. And get our land mean the laws necessary, the knowledge necessary to know what we need to do so we can occupy that land mass. And we need to know that. What we need to do at this time leading up to other times so we can know what we need to do to occupy that land mass. Because God's going to make sure we give that land, even if we have to have a war that be here in the United States that's dealing with other nations with America. God's going to make sure someone give us make sure someone set it up, some power set it up so we could get that land. And we got to see that. Now the United States could wake up and make sure we could have it, or God gonna have other nations push the boundaries. But it's gonna happen because it's about God. Now, do I love my nation? Yes, I love my nation, but I love to see my other nation that's gonna satisfy my people and that my people gonna live in and grow in and get out of this condition more than I want to see the America stay like it is. I want to see it better. And that's gonna happen, make it better. Now, we got to see that. Now, you can make your donation to Louis Armstrong Ministry, 7536 Jana Lane North, Jacksonville, Florida, 32210. Cross Rock Incorporated with that same address, 7536 Jana Lane North, Jacksonville, Florida, 32210. Or you can go on Givelify on your mobile app under charitable, at Cross Rock Incorporated. Or you could go with PayPal, Cross Rock Incorporated. Well, you go PayPal, and you could go at ArmstrongLewisJ@gmail.com. That's PayPal at ArmstrongLewisJ@gmail.com. Or you could go Cash App at $SWAU1954. That's $SWAU1954. Please, and we want you to subscribe. Please keep subscribing. We see some people done started picking up in the subscribing. We need many, many people. Please get your friends, get your family members, get many people as you can. Make that part of a ministerial thing that you would be doing, a ministry thing that you were doing by getting many people to subscribe. Please, make me smile and the organization smile when we see them numbers rise with the subscribers. Please, help us in that area. Now, I'll say this prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for permitting us to be here, Heavenly Father. Help our people, all people that love you, Father, no matter what color they are, what race they are, what creed they are, what religion they are. Help them to understand your word more and more and understand you more and more. We say unto you, Heavenly Father, thank you for permitting us to come before you, fulfilling Scripture, Father. And we want you to bless all of your children. In the name of the Lord, God, Father. In the name of the God, Allah. Allah. And in the name of the messenger. And we ask you, Father, for individuals who don't know how to connect with you in that way, bless them. Bless them as what they got and what knowledge they have. And bless them when they come into the truth. And we say thank you. Amen.
Scorpion. Yo, it's a message from Thoth to Hody, Melchizedek, Amias Hermes, Mercury, Quetzalcoatl, Kulakan, who commands. We are telling them once, the rise of the children of Israel. Louis, that is, beat.